with an individual goal that owed everything to persistence. But having survived the Cinderford defence, he did well to survive the celebrations. 10 minutes from time, it was Cinderford's turn to celebrate. A crowd of over 2,000 people saw some desperate Gravesend defence before Cinderford found a way into the third round draw thanks to a diving header from Bradley Thomas to make the final score 1-1.
Clash finished with honours even. Cinderford and Gravesend both go into the third round draw. Colin Blewden gave Gravesend a deserved lead 10 minutes into the second half. Bradley Thomas was Cinderford's saviour. Thomas came out on top from this goalmouth scramble as he headed in their equaliser 9 minutes from the end. Cinderford 1, Gravesend 1.
And with us to make the draw tonight, we have two men with an FA Cup pedigree. The England boss, Terry Venables, who was an FA Cup winner, both as a player and a manager, and Dennis Law, who lifted the FA Cup with Manchester United in 1963. Dennis, we talk about the romance of the FA Cup, but if a Premier side gets drawn away at some lowly little lower league side, a journey of 300 miles on a Saturday, is that romantic?
It's not recommended whatsoever, no. I don't think you could ask any of the top clubs that they would not like to play away from home. No, that's definitely not recommended.
Were you ever a giant killer's victims?
Oh, plenty through the years. I suppose Norwich City going back a long time when they were in the second division. When we were champions that year, we got beaten in the third round at home. But many times through the year, I think I played in about 9 semi-finals and actually only won one. So yes, a lot of heartache along the way. A lot of heartache, surely. We know the impact, Terry, that the FA Cup has at home, but you've also seen it from abroad, haven't you?
Yeah, I lived in Spain for 3 years, and they think it is the greatest domestic football competition in the world, and there's no doubt that's how they feel. I think we've got 60 countries watch the FA Cup final. Everywhere abroad, they're interested in the league more. Their FA equivalent to the FA Cup final doesn't mean too much to them. Everyone's watching ours.
All right, well, also watching tonight will be Desmond Lynham, who sadly can't be with us because he's been struck down today by flu, but he has requested that Brighton, his favourite side, have a home tie in the draw, which is about to be conducted as usual by the Chief Executive of the FA, Mr. Graham Kelly. Can you arrange a home tie for Brighton, Graham?
Well, I don't know what Jimmy Hill at Fulham would say about that.
One other point we ought to make, this is a major change from the way the third round draw has been done in the past. Why have the FA, because it is your decision, why have you decided to change it?
That's right. Well, we want more and more fans to experience the excitement of the draw firsthand. Now, it's great to have the players and the managers of the two smallest teams left in the draw here tonight, but predominantly for future draws here at Lancaster Gate, it'll be the fans who are here to join us.
Super. All right, well, we've kept everybody waiting long enough. I'm sure the nation is waiting. All the players are here, players at home, football fans up and down the country. It's all over to you.
Nerve-wracking. It's killing me.
Number 17.
17 is Leicester City.
20.
We'll play Manchester City.
I've never seen a player look so nervous.
The lad will not be too happy with that.
This before a game.
No. Number 60.
60, 60, Cinderford Town or Gravesend and Northfleet.
Told you.
Number 2.
Aston Villa.
Ooh,
good draw.
Tim. That's amazing.
Nice little draw.
He said that before the game. Is that true? He said
Seriously?
Aston Villa. Seriously, I
Not
swear.
fixed, is it? Number 10.
We have an FA Cup hero joining us in the studio very shortly. But let's look back at some of the scores that needed to be settled midweek in the FA Cup second round replays. Now then, we happen to have one of the heroes from one of those games that you've just seen, because Grant Best, who works at Sky Sports on the Monday and the Sunday football, of course. Grant, you're a hero in this building, Grant. You made a lot of people happy. I mean, a good result, wasn't it? Gravesend and Northfleet 3, Cinderford Town 0, and you got on the score sheet.
About time, I think, really. It was nice to score early on in the game, and it settled everyone for the game that we went on to win. So.
What does it feel like to score in the FA Cup, though? Would you know, Gary, what it feels like to score in the FA Cup?
Yeah, I have actually done it. Yeah, surprisingly enough. But I won't bore you with that.
What did it feel like, then, when you scored in the FA Cup, the greatest cup competition in the world, in front of the cameras?
My own cameras as well.
Yeah, your own cameras as well.
No, it was, well, I watched it go in, and it rolled in, I think, past it into the net.
OK, well, let's have a look at it. Talk us through this goal, then, Grant, from what you remember of it.
There was me there, picked it up there, played it out right. You had a bit of luck there.
Yeah, you
knocked
did.
On, followed on, and David Powell put it across there and just...
Oh, you scuffed it!
No, passed it into the net. No scuff there.
And there you are.
I was trying to get away from the...
They like you, don't they?
They couldn't catch me.
So, Aston Villa now. I mean, this is big time, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be a great day out for everyone. Not just who's playing, but for the fans and the club. And I think whoever plays will enjoy it.
Because you have a connection with Gary loosely, because I know that you used to be down at Brighton, didn't you, which is one of Gary's old clubs.
Yeah, I was there. I was a young lad, 15, 16.
But it didn't work out professionally for you?
No, I had pre-season down there, and
yep.
I got told that, well, you know, wasn't needed, so I ended up coming here, and which is very nice for me, and playing non-league football.
Has anybody at the club actually sat down and worked out what sort of money might come in from this game against Aston Villa? And have you lads, more importantly, sorted out your bonuses?
Well, the bonuses, well, you know, you never know what can happen there, do you? But I'm glad we got through against Aston Villa, because obviously bonuses keep going up when you...
But what's he going to bring in? Because at that stage, I think the gate money is split. I think 10% goes to the FA, so you as a club will get 45% of the gate money.
It must be a lot of money. I mean, I personally don't know how much it would be.
I would think it's probably sort of £350,000, £400,000 maybe.
Yeah, it'd be a lot of money. I'm looking at all your press clippings here. They've been very imaginative, because Grant Best is Best is Grant's second name, if you didn't know. Sky high for Best, said the Sun. Cinders wish not granted. It's very inventive stuff, isn't it? Striker Best, a rising star on Sky screen. And it's good stuff. Sky high for Best. I mean, you've got to keep all these, Grant.
Yeah, I'll put them in the scrapbook.
You might get a few more after the Villa game. I mean, you never know.
I think we should all go. I think we should all go.
The whole department should go up there and support you, I think.
Yeah, we should
all be up there for you, Grant.
Stand up your end, the away
We were
end.
secretly hoping that Torquay would get through the third round, and you'd put about 8 or 9 past them in round 3. But I suppose Aston Villa's better for you, isn't it?
Definitely, yeah. If you can put 8 past them, then we'll be right.
Now, let's have a look at the third round draw. And this is how it's lining up. Saturday, January the 6th.
Yeah, definitely.
And there you are. Gravesend and Northfleet, a home tie against Aston Villa.
I think it's been transferred.
Yeah, I think so. Well, it would have been nice if you could have played at your place there, wouldn't it? Really?
Yeah, it's taken away the FA Cup style of it already, hasn't it?
Yeah.
But even so, you want to play in front of 35,000 people, so...
Exactly.
That'd be good fun.
For every cloud, there's a silver lining, Grant, isn't there? Well, Grant, we wish you all the best, obviously, from all of us here in the big match against Villa, and we will be there. Well, some of us.
Do you want me to bring my drum?
Anything, any noise.
And get on the score sheet again. Get on the score sheet.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Well, ever so well done. We're all very proud of you here.
It's a cue for Beverly.
Thank you very much, Tim. Guess what we're talking about tonight? Well, this weekend is seen by many football lovers as the most exciting of the season. It's the third round of the Littlewood-sponsored FA Cup, the time when the minnows have come face-to-face with the big boys, all ready for a spot of giant killing. The boys at Gravesend and Northfleet have been putting in a bit of early practice with the FA Cup, but tomorrow's trip to Aston Villa could put to rest any further illusions of grandeur. This looks like being the most unevenly balanced tie of them all. Beazer League strugglers against Premiership giants.
I think the FA Cup is about what happens on that one day. We all know that over 90 games or 42 games in a season, we will be below Villa. But it's just that one game.
It'll be a day to remember for the young part-timers, but it doesn't look like they'll be on their way to Wembley just yet. Well, let's have a look now at the other ties.
1,000 to 1, and Gravesend from the Beazer League are the rank outsiders at 7,500 to 1.
Yes, Gravesend then written off as the real no-hopers, still left in the 116th FA Cup. Sixth from bottom of the Beazer Premier Division they may be, but they're set for the biggest day in their history with a plum trip to 7 times FA Cup winners Aston Villa. It may look a mismatch, but for the part-timers from Kent, this is their cup final, their cup dream come true. Phil Edwards has this report.
Yes, that is the FA Cup, and yes, they are Gravesend and Northfleet from the Beazer League. But no, you don't need to have your eyes tested. The sponsors actually brought the precious silverware to Gravesend's training session last night just to whet the appetite for what will be one of the biggest days in the club's history. The odds against them holding the cup again at Wembley in May are currently 7,500 to 1, but they couldn't care less about odds. They're promising positive football.
We know they've got players that can cause us problems. But it's no good just sitting back and waiting for that to happen and say, well, that's it, that's what was expected. We've somehow got to try and cause them 1 or 2 problems, and that'll be what we'll try and do and work on in training to get that going and go from there. But to do that, we've got to get players forward into their half of the field, create 1 or 2 situations, for example, a set-piece play around their box, and perhaps we get 1 or 2 breaks from that, you know, who knows what might happen.
Gravesend will be pinning many of their hopes tomorrow on a player who scored 9 times in the last 9 rounds, a player with an unusual day job. It's a busy day in the City of London for futures trader David Powell, but as he buys and sells in the cut-and-thrust world of high finance, he'd be forgiven for letting his mind wander to Saturday. It's then he'll swap his black and green corporate blazer for the red and white of Gravesend and walk out in front of 30,000 fans at Villa Park. The atmosphere there will make the hustle and bustle of the trading pit pale into insignificance.
I just can't imagine what it's going to be like. It's going to be the greatest day of my life, probably all the other lads' life as well. I mean, every sort of non-league player dreams of playing in the 3rd round of the FA Cup against a big side, and luckily we got this far and the dreams come true, so really looking forward to it.
Then there's our very own Grant Best of Sky Sports Centre. He compiles our football statistics and helps with match coverage in the Premiership. Come Saturday, he'll line up for Gravesend against the very players whose names have appeared in his reports. This was Grant scoring against Cinderford in the last round of the Cup, a goal that helped Gravesend on their way to tomorrow's clash with Aston Villa.
I've watched Aston Villa twice now, and I think that'll help me in some areas where I'm playing, especially I know that the fullback's bomb on. I'm sure as everyone else knows who watches Premiership football, but I think they're going to be the key thing, as well as the boys in midfield.
And realistically, what are your chances, do you think?
Well, you never know, you see. You could suddenly hit one in the first few minutes and they could think it's their day, but if not, you can enjoy the day. I mean, realistically, it's a luxury to be playing against them, I think.
Of course, if Gravesend are going to pull off a giant killing act tomorrow, or perhaps more realistically, if they're to avoid a record 7-0 club defeat in the FA Cup, they're going to need luck, or maybe a bit of Red Indian magic. They might just find it in the grounds of St George's Church in the centre of Gravesend.
Because this, believe it or not, is the final resting place of the Indian princess Pocahontas, inspiration for the Disney film of the same name. And tomorrow at Villa Park, the Gravesend players could certainly do with some of her Indian charm rubbing off on them. Phil Edwards, Sky Sports Centre, Gravesend.
Good luck to Grant, Gravesend, Villa, and everyone else in round 3.
And travel to Aston Villa. Home or away, Villa are in useful form at the moment. On New Year's Day, they were away at Middlesbrough. Gravesend, I hope, will not be too overawed by the occasion or that kind of form. After all, they travel to Villa Park with the essential ingredient for potential giant killers, a manager who, to put it politely, is a little eccentric. Gary Richardson reports.
An ordinary house in an ordinary street. But inside you'll find anything but an ordinary football manager. Chris Weller, boss of Gravesend and Northfleet, lives here. Chris is an animal lover, and his house is literally full of them.
quite good company, actually. They might not seem to do that much at times, but quite honestly, when they're on their own and you're with them, they do some strange things.
So you'd sort of sit down and watch Match of the Day with Jake on a Saturday night?
It can happen, yeah. Over Christmas they were out watching the television. They do tend to sit in there with the gas nice and warm out there, and they sit on the back of the settee and that, and they have some lettuce and some oranges, and they're well away.
And if Jake and his mates had been watching recently, they'd have seen Gravesend beat Cinderford 3-0 in a replay. It was their 9th FA Cup tie and set up the meeting with Villa.
I say, you two, don't you think that's wonderfully exciting? Going to Villa Park, eh? Villa Park? Whoa, what a lot at Villa Park. Whoa.
Who lives in this tank, Chris?
This is Morris the monitor. He's a Nile monitor. He grows to between 7 and 8 foot, but he's very aggressive.
No, I'm not very aggressive, not yet. But if you get to come back in about a few years when I'm 8 feet long, eh?
Morris, do you want to come out?
No, I'm not coming out. I've got a bad reputation. I'd only get booked, you know, yeah.
When he escapes, what sort of things would he do?
Wreck the place, generally. Breaking ornaments, pulling down curtains, anything really that he's not quite happy with, he will remove. And that generally happens, and he does make a lot of noise in doing it as well.
Morris might be a worry for Chris at home. Today, his team have got to try and beat a side with the best defensive record in the Premiership and a potent strike force.
I understand the lad York up front's been playing particularly well this year. He's a bit pacey and a bit skillful. Andy Townsend, of course, in midfield, has done very well for them. And defensively, they've seemed quite sound. Their record says they haven't conceded many goals. But hopefully we can change that on Saturday.
Change that on Saturday. I'm worried about this Misolovich, yes. Won't he beat us? No.
Gravesend, average crowd around 700, are thrilled about their big day out, but wouldn't they have had a better chance if they'd played the match on their own ground?
I play at my own ground every other week, and the chance to go to Villa Park doesn't often come. And I think for everyone to go to Villa Park and for the players, it's important to have this one big day. And I think if there was a choice, all the players would say we want to go to Villa Park. Merlin, come on, say something for grandstand.
Are you actually planning to get any more animals, Chris?
Well, the one animal that I always did want to have was a small dwarf crocodile. But I'm having a bit of trouble with the local council over that one for the licence. So I might have to wait a little bit longer for that one.
Never smile at a crocodile, Gary. The voice of Johnny Morris there, bringing some sanity to that item, but Gravesend at Villa. Tame opposition for Villa this afternoon.
I suppose they'll be sick as parrots from me. I tell you, I've played in a few dressing rooms like that, especially at Spurs. A few names come to mind, but yeah, I think what has happened there is that Gravesend have foregone any possibility of causing an upset by playing at Villa Park. But you can understand the players want a day out at a big Premiership ground, and hopefully they'll enjoy it and not lose by too many.
Speculation in some of the papers this morning that Villa could compile an FA Cup record score, but you don't see a margin of victory of quite that scale.
Well, it's possible, but I think I'll go for 5. I think they'll work so hard. It'll be such a big day for them that their enthusiasm might keep them where other teams might just fall apart. But it could be, who knows.
Top set, Chris? That's it's been on, is it? Indeed. I got very anything. Yeah. We look all right, Chris? Come on, you flea! Taking a coaching.
When we train them up the M1 that start to come down.
Right way round till you see the barrier.
Yep, just walk back.
Just walk back.
Don't look at the camera, just keep looking around.
Tony pitch. It's 112 yards long. Do you know that?
Is it really?
112 yards long. That's all you've got to worry about.
What? Oh, you cut it.
Yes,
What we just cut is that you're used to Merthyr Tydfils and that sort of world, aren't you?
Quite.
How are you going to keep the lads sort of down, in a sense, or even up, for playing against proven internationals in a ground like this?
Well, they're only 11 men at the end of the day, aren't they? And I'm sure that, you know, our lads will raise their game. And we haven't had a slice of luck yet. We've had, this is our 10th match in the Cup. They have it easy, really, these Premier clubs, don't they? You know, Aston Villa will win the Cup with less matches than that. But no, they've done it in every round so far, and they're going to do it tomorrow, I'm quite sure.
Prefer to do. They will do them down to them on the day. But it is quite detailed in here. I've tried to sort of condense it.
What are you doing here? What does that mean? Give him that off.
Can't believe it.
That's a long one, isn't it? When Andy Cole sat here, he told me he's got the corner best thing. Well, come on, son, you're holding the scrappings up. He's got the oils. Come on, who done that? Is that you, mate? No, it's not. No. Please, Powell. Louis' sons, isn't it? Alright, you doing? Lee, you wearing them black shorts? Got your black tapes on? Yeah. Like that. Slips there. What's the time? 12 marks.
Televising the match. Are they all right?
Standing up. Can we find... Hey, get ready, boys! Drink it later.
Congratulate you. You played bloody well and you gave us a hard time, a real hard time. I do really congratulate you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
How the hell you're in the Beazer League, I don't know. You should be. I'll tell you what, we've played other sides in the Premier League, not as good as you.
Well, Chris.
Thank you, Lionel. Mate. That was brilliant. Cheers,
A day that had started at the team hotel with no one talking about small fry.
Mark Mundy, occupation insurance salesman, loves to attack, and I've given him a free roll. He's good in the air, great at the near post, and has an ability to attack from deep position. What's he going to get out of that door? That's £1 million already, so.
The little men from the Beazer Homes League up against the little men from the Premiership.
It's not a pressurised game in any sense of the word, but it's a game that we all want to do well in for our own reasons.
There was time for a little reflection. No minnows down there. And then the team talk about how they were going to fry the big fish.
What I'm going to do this morning, I'm going to just go through things about dinner.
Tactics sorted. This was going to be their trip. Their cup final. They travelled along the Aston Expressway rather than Wembley Way, but it didn't matter a jot. Stars for a day, but could they play? After familiarising themselves with their surroundings, it was time to take a deep breath and see what Villa Park had to offer. Chance to spot a familiar face in the crowd. An hour later, it would be them under the spotlight. "700 fans normally watch them. 6,000 had made the journey today. They'd hardly had time to sit down than Mark Draper had the Villa fans back on their feet. Talk was of a record score, but Gravesend weren't about to crumble, and they held on till half-time. But then a second sucker punch in the first minute of the second half from Savo Milosevic really finished them off. A rare glimpse of Premiership class from a disappointing Aston Villa, but it was followed by a decisive save. Cotter was denied. Gravesend knew it wasn't their day. And just to rub it in, Tommy Johnson scored Villa's third. The result was never really in any sort of doubt, but then neither was the final reception. Something to lock away in the non-league memory.
Yeah, it's been a superb run, and you know, obviously we'll miss it a little bit now. We've got to come back down to earth again. That's going to be the hard part.
It's tremendous, one of the best days of my life. It's been a great day for the club. Last night, today, when we went out, the support was superb, and it was, I was almost in tears. It was tremendous. Good day.
Still worth a swig of anybody's champagne. Mark Saggers, Sky News, Villa Park.
£100,000. It was their 10th match of the competition, and they looked like being overrun when Mark Draper's shot slipped through Lee Turner's hands in the second minute. Gravesend, though, then shut up shop, and it wasn't until a minute into the second half that Savo Milosevic thumped in their second after a neat 1-2. With virtually the whole of the second half still remaining, Gravesend refused to buckle, and Villa managed just one more, scored by Tommy Johnson. The Gravesend story was over.
Obviously we missed it a little bit now, we've got to come back down to earth again, that's going to be the hard part.
It's tremendous, one of the best days of my life. It's been a great day for the club, last night, today. When we went out, the support was superb, and it was, I was almost in tears, it was tremendous, good day.
Oh, lovely. All right then. Well, reaction really. I mean, fantastic, wasn't it? Better than you ever imagined.
Yeah, I mean, we was came here today hoping to put on a good performance and not disgrace ourselves. And at the end of the day, I mean, we feel a bit gutted that it's 3-0 at the end of the day. I mean, we've had a few chances, a few perhaps penalty decisions that you're probably not going to get away from home. And but generally, I mean, for commitment, effort, and the way we even pass the ball around, their chairman's came in and said, well, he'd like to see many sides in their league and come here and play as well as that. And,
which says it all, doesn't it?
It's a great accolade. I mean, when their chairman praises us, one of our own players has actually got man of the match, and I mean, what more can you say?
Yeah, the fans as well, incredible, isn't it?
Oh, I mean, it's amazing. I mean, our fans were as noisy as their fans, if not noisier. And I mean, we've got a quarter of what they had here, and it was just a tremendous day for Gravesend and Northfleet. I mean, the players, I don't think it'll sink in until next week sometime when you think, Christ, I've been in a hell of a game there, and I've put on a good performance. Perhaps if you watch the video or whatever, you think, Christ, shame we can't do that every week.
Like you said, though, I mean, the first minute you went 1 down, you must have thought, oh my God, what's going on?
Yeah, when the pace of the game surprised us. I mean, we knew they would come at us, but so early on, I mean, we were struggling to keep with them. And then, obviously, the goal went in early, and everyone sort of must go through their minds, here we go, we're on hiding here. But we dug in a bit, and when we had the majority of the play, I thought, the first half, we kept the ball well, kept turning their defence, getting in behind them, and come off at half-time 1-0 and still in the game, which, I mean, we wouldn't have expected to.
Would you settle for 3-0 beforehand, or...?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, we was looking at 5 would have been a good result, but Jim in goal, he's gutted that he's let 3 in, and I mean, that just says what a good day it must have been.
So, Colin, tell us, what's the plans tonight, then? You're going to go and...
Yeah, well, no, nowhere near that. I mean, the chairman's done us a favour. He's taken the whole club out, directors and wives and players and wives, to a nightclub in Dartford, and we're going to go there and really let our hair down, because we was a bit conservative last night. So it's going to be a great night tonight, and we can go there and enjoy ourselves knowing that we've put on a good performance.
Think a few beers might be drunk then?
Yeah, well, I think beers might be drunk and a few players might be drunk. That'll be the main thing. But there again, we've got to go training again Tuesday and get back up in playing league games and get down to the hard graft of the league. So get a few league points and get out the table. Back to reality.
Back to reality.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Well, I'm lost for words, really. I'm absolutely proud of the lads. Well, I'm lost for words, quite frankly. If anything, I just hope people have gone away and realised that, you know, non-league football can play a bit of football. You know, we knocked it around on the ground, didn't we? Thought we should have had a penalty, quite frankly. But at the end of the day, you know, they're 6 divisions above us, and 3-0, it's not bad, is it?
Well, superb. I mean, a lot of sides would come here and be proud of that. I mean, when you went 1 down after the first minute, what did you think?
Well, that was a disaster. That was the last thing we wanted, wasn't it? We thought if we could keep them out for 10 minutes, quarter of an hour, you never know, with a bit of luck. But I think that's even more credit to the lads, really. They buckled down, and we had the same problem in the second half, didn't we? You know, 2 minutes after the restart, bang, there's another goal in the back of the net. But no, I mean, marvellous from every respect, and all credit to Aston Villa, quite frankly. They've been absolutely superb from the first moment we decided to swap the fixture up to Villa Park here, and you know, Doug Ellis has just almost begged me to go down in our dressing room to congratulate the lads, and I think that sums it up.
Says it all, doesn't it? I mean, a word for the fans as well. There were about 7,000 of them there,
Well, I couldn't stop clapping them, quite frankly. I think people thought I was clapping the players, but most of the time, quite honestly, I was just really geeing the supporters up. It must have been, as we expected, 6,000-7,000 of ours just being congratulated how well behaved they were. They've just said that one of the best sets of supporters they've had at Villa Park. Very, very proud.
It's a great day for Gravesend and Northfleet, isn't it?
That's right. You know, we've been waiting for this a very, very long time, and here we are, and a few bob in the bank.
Final question, Lionel. Plans for tonight then? You're going to go back and...
Yeah, we're off about 6 o'clock. Let's have 1 or 2 drinks, and we're then going back to Dartford, which is very close to Gravesend, obviously, and sit down mill, and one hell of a night.
Think you'll have a few drinks?
Yeah, I might have a thickhead in the morning, I think.
What can you say about that? It's...
I'm lost for words at the moment. I mean, I've just had a place who saw that press coverage in there and the people waiting to see me, and I just couldn't believe what was happening. I still haven't got over it yet. You know, the performance today was absolutely superb. Disappointed we lost 3-0. I keep saying that. Disappointed we lost 3-0, but the performance was excellent. And if it wasn't perhaps for the quality of finishing that got them out of it, really, at the end of the day, and a couple of little breaks, and that's what it's all about, I suppose. That's why you pay money for that sort of player to finish chances like that, little 1-2s, and perhaps we couldn't match that. But I think we matched him in most other departments. We played the football we said we'd come and play, and we stood the test in fitness-wise. That was a big test as well. And I can't fault the players anymore. You know, I mean, they were just superb.
They certainly did the town proud, didn't they? I mean, they did just... And the town itself came out in force as well, didn't it?
Yeah. Gravesend must have shut today, I think. Yeah, I hope that 1 or 2 come back. You know, I really do, because I honestly believe that support makes players play better. And I know that if we got that support away every week, and I know we can't, it won't possibly happen, but if we did, we would have had a lot of more games away from home.
It was quite incredible, wasn't it? I mean, 7,000 fans baying for...
Yeah, I do 7,000 now. I mean, at the end of the day, I just can't believe how well we've done. It won't sink in for a little while yet. I'm just still... I came off a bit emotional about it because I was disappointed we'd lost. But then we got a standing ovation.
Can't do more than that, can you? I mean, what did you think after the first minute though, Chris? I mean, you must have thought, oh my God, what's going to happen?
I've got to be honest, I thought the worst. I started putting, I got the calculator out, sort of, and I thought, well, how are we going to settle that? That's what, if anything we've come out of today, is that. At the start of both halves, we conceded a goal, and we've kept going. And that was the hardest thing today. Now, we should not buckle under now if we play anyone in our league, because that's taught us a lesson. If we can come here and play like that, then surely we can go to Dorchester, Cheltenham or anywhere else and go and play football. And you can prove you can play football at any level. We've come here and played, and that's what's really pleased me. I can't ask any more of the players. They've done exactly what they've been asked to do. Can't do any more of that.
Final question. There were 11 heroes out there, but
yeah.
The guy who won the man of the match, I mean, he had a stormer, didn't he?
Yeah. Funny that I took him off at Dorchester. He had an absolute nightmare. And perhaps he was a bit fortunate to be playing today. But, you know, that's what, unfortunately, part-time football's about. I mean, especially young lads. I mean, he's only got 19, 20, and we've got a lot of lads like that, and they're a little bit up and down, you know. But they raise themselves for this game, and it's something I'll always remember. I'm just absolutely proud of all of them.